Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. In an earlier video, I made reference to bizarre magic. And Mexie Max, who comments almost every time I release a video, thank you so much, Mexie, for commenting. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being here. He comments quite a bit, and he said, you know, Dave, I think a lot of people probably don't know what bizarre magic is. So it might be a good idea if you did a video and kind of did an introduction to bizarre magic. You know, and I'm really glad you asked, Mexie. It's a very good idea. Now, I did some research, and I have a very clear idea in my head of what bizarre is. But apparently, a lot of people want to expand that definition a little bit. So I'm going to give you the definition that's on Magicpedia. If you've never been to Magicpedia, it's a great little reference for study. Magicpedia said that bizarre magic includes wizard-style magic. They don't really define what wizard-style magic is, but wizard-style magic, simulated black magic or ritual magic, theatrical seances, grotesque magic, and freak show magic. Okay, but again, I have a very clear idea in my head of what bizarre is and how it's impacted my own life, and I want to share a little bit of that with you. The history of bizarre magic. Bizarre magic began in the 1960s. You know, you can probably trace bizarre magic before that if you really want to look for those who have blazed the trail before it was an actual genre. You know, it's a genre of magic now. But the histories are claiming that they're really pointing to a person named Charles Cameron and Tony Doc Shiels. By the way, this is Tony's book right here. One of Tony's books anyway. Bizarre, the Surreal the Sorcery of Tony Doc Shiels. I love this book. I've done so much magic out of it. It was certainly, I bought the book when it first came out. And it first came out, I guess it was around 1988, around that period. So it was new for me then, and I got it then, and it's really had an impact. Bizarre magic in general has had an impact on my life. Significant artists in the field include Tony Andruzzi, also known as Maskelyn Mage, Carl Herron, Brother Shadow, Tony Raven, Eugene Eugene Poinc, and Jeff McBride. Now let me give you some of the characteristics, at least as I see it, that bizarrists have in common. There's an emphasis on atmosphere. They create an atmosphere. They don't just do a trick. They create an atmosphere. There's an emphasis on storytelling. Storytelling enhances the magic, or magic enhances the story, depending on how you're looking at it. It's employed for a greater sense of theatrical authenticity, story. See, for me as a performer today, and I get this from bizarre magic, it's all about the story. I tell my stories in my show right now are so strong that you could take the magic out and nobody would know the difference. I mean, it really, I think what bizarrists have given to us is an appreciation for atmosphere, context, and story. That's where it's at. That's the strength of bizarre magic. It's also emotionally touching. You know you've seen a bizarrist when your heart's been touched, when somehow you've been affected emotionally. It can also be philosophically provoking. My show certainly is. I love to stimulate people's thought process, whether they agree or don't agree. It doesn't matter as long as they're thinking, as long as I've stimulated something inside of them. It embraces horror and the supernatural as viable entertainment sources or choices. And it generally uses organic props. You're not going to see tacky magic props used by a bizarrist generally. You might, but generally not. Some of the magazines that have supported the art form over a period of time: the Cauldron, 1967, Invocation, 1974, the Altar Flame, 1993, and then of course you have Séance magazine, which is what this is. This is a This is a complete collection of Séance magazine over a period of time, and it is just, you can see it as I flip through. There's highlights and notes on almost every single page because it's just that good. There is a 1988 to 1991. There is an effect that was described in here that I have been working on. I loved it when I first read it, but I've been working on it for probably 20 years. And it's just getting to the place. I think I need to tweak a few more things, but it's getting to the place where I think it's going to be stellar. The short story is there's a newspaper article describing a tragedy. The spectators can choose from a number of different people that were potentially involved in the tragedy. They can set the time on a watch. When I share the newspaper article, the time set on the watch matches the time of the death, and the person they chose is the person that was murdered. It's just a stunning effect. The idea came out of here. I've tweaked it so much you wouldn't recognize it anymore, but it is just full of great material. Now, down below, and if you've never gone to my notes before, please go now, because I have searched the internet, searched YouTube for videos to give you examples of what Bazaar is all about, and I want you to take advantage of this. If you look down below, you will see one video for each of these performers: Eugene Berger, Tony Shiels, Tony Andruzzi, Todd Landman, David Parr, the Sacred Rihanna, Paul Prater, and Vince Wilson. Now I put Vince Wilson last for a reason. I want to share this with you. Vince Wilson is, I think, the founder and operator of POE'S Magic right here in Baltimore, Maryland. Vince Wilson is a brilliant bazaarist in his own right, but he produces a convention every year. Now this convention's coming up. I'm going to try to get this video on well before the convention comes around. August 18 to 21st, 2022. Travel from out of town. Do whatever you have to do. Come to this convention. I'm going to put the link to the convention below. You can pre-buy your tickets there. I've been to the convention. It's a fantastic event, and I think you will love it. If you're interested in art, bazaar, or any kind of magic for that matter, it's a wonderful event. Mexie, thank you so much for asking about this. I hope I gave you a flavor for what bazaar is. I don't know that I consider myself a bazaarist. I guess if you saw my act, you'd say, yeah, Dave, you're a bazaarist. But I certainly am influenced by atmosphere, context, and story. Those are mainstays in my act today. I wouldn't have it any other way. If I did traditional magic, trick after trick after trick, I would drive myself insane. I just love the story aspect, and really the darker the story, the better. I mean, bazaarists love Jack the Ripper, and they love the Titanic. I mean, every one of us does a routine based on the Ripper or the Titanic. It's gotten to be a bit of a cliche, I admit. But folks, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this introduction. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Please comment down below. I love your comments. Have a great day, everyone.